He had a big banner that said, Trump will fix it. The prices are still high. Ukraine, Russia, still going on. Israel, Gaza, still going on.
Yeah, wasn't there a ceasefire and then Israel was just firing on Palestinians? Like this morning, like I think 300 new.
There was supposed to be a ceasefire with Ukraine and Russia, and then Russia was like, oops,
nope, just
we
kidding.
bombed. Day one was the promise. Even before, he's like, day after the election, I'll solve this problem.
More Americans are unemployed than they were before he was in office. Prices are higher than they've fucking been. Businesses are suffering more than they have. Americans are miserable. Hey, what's up, you guys? I'm Ansley. I am an employee at Boredwalk, and these are my employee friends, Tess and Gabe.
We have jobs.
We do.
Our jobs are more protected than federal positions right now, and that is something that's crazy to think about.
Come at me, Doge.
Try to defund us.
France wants to take back the Statue of Liberty, and how I support it.
I think it's like a funny, like, go off petty queen kind of thing. Like, yeah, I gave you that, but like,
You
I
don't
want
deserve
it back.
it. When I was in school, you would have like green cards, gold cards, like if you were a really good kid. And like if you got a gold card, you were an exceptional child. And I remember the day I lost my gold card and I was like, what the hell? And so I think it's totally okay that if you don't live up to earning a symbol of freedom, that it gets taken away.
I had a text message with a friend. I was in New York, and I actually went to go to Liberty Island and Ellis Island, and I did the tour. I highly recommend it, especially if it's not going to be there anymore. No, I'm just kidding. But while I was in the tour, a buddy asked, he was like, hey, do you want to like jump on a call real quick for something? And I was like, I can't. I'm visiting Lady Liberty. I'm here. And I sent him a phone, and he's like, oh, well, and this is on Friday. When I sent this text. And he goes, oh, well, you should enjoy it while it lasts before France wants it back. Fast forward to Sunday/Monday, and the news comes out that there's this French politician who's like, oh, hey, we should take that back because you guys don't deserve it anymore. And honestly, based on the stuff we've been doing over the last 3 months or almost 3 months, yeah, I get it.
I mean, we were talking about a little last week, the tariffs and how Canada is, I guess, quote unquote, rebelling against America and like standing their ground. And like, I truly think that America, especially in this current administration, is such a nightmare and such a horrifying bully that I'm like, yeah, if it takes the rest of the world cutting off our arms and legs in order for us to get back to the root of it, which was just religious freedom, political freedom, the ability to exist without a dictator telling us what we could and couldn't do. Like, we need to get back to that. And now we're in an oligarchy with it, tyranny. And it's really scary. I think we should lose all the things that make us American.
But yeah, I mean, I give props to Ontario, who are like, all right, we'll just cut off electricity for like these 3 states. And they're like, oh, well, you know, it's like.
No American liquor on shelves then.
Yeah. Tariffs are anti-growth, and anyone who thinks that we're going to make a bunch of money with tariffs is insane.
We can tell you firsthand, we are not making more money. And if you want one perfect example, it's not working. Here, not working. We're not making more money.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I was gonna pass it to Gabe for explaining Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
So there's this politician in Minnesota who wanted to propose this bill that was Trump derangement syndrome to label people who talked about or whatever as this, which is, again, not how those disorders or whatever get actually like labeled. But of course, in the GOP, because it's a group of pedophiles, you find out that he was soliciting texts with a teenager. So it's like the party of family values, making sure that we follow certain morals or ethics or whatever, are always the people that end up supporting sex trafficking. Andrew Tate, Conor McGregor, they had him at the White House. Just like blows my mind every time something comes up and they're like, we don't see it happen.
It's the looking the other way. Like, we want a godly president, but we have a president who, like, adamantly does not live by any religious rules at all. He literally just claims it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but MAGA's so stupid. They're like, oh, he said John 3:16, so that makes him a Christian. I think the number one thing that I learned when I was religious, when I was in the church, is that I would look at people and I was like, you're not living at all like what God would want.
Yeah.
Because at the core of Christianity, what it should be, what it needs to be, is loving one another and caring for one another. Because Jesus, yeah, he smited people. He might have drowned half the earth, but it's because they were awful and they were sinful, quote unquote. And so we're having all these people who are in these positions of power, and I know we're all on the same page with this, but it is so unbelievable to me to see people like claim that they're voting in the interest of God while voting for a rapist, sexual assaulter, felon, possible pedophile. I mean, it just is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
My favorite conspiracy is that Donald Trump is actually the Antichrist.
I've seen that.
Because
I've
the
seen that.
Antichrist is described in the Bible as somebody who's going to have a lot of followers. People are going to worship him, and they are going to wear his mark on their forehead.
There's a mark on the ear. There's a mark on the right hand. And you pointed out on your Twitter that he had a wound on his hand for months and months. And it literally says like a mark
not
on
even
the right
months and
hand.
months. It's
a wound on the
2017,
head.
2020, came back in 2025. It's just like...
He's going to come during a time of very intense financial struggle and unite the people. He will have temples. He will unite Israel. And you want to piss off some maggots, you show them that, because that is undeniable. Like, I'm not religious anymore, but I believe that.
You know, in 2021 at CPAC, they had a golden statue of Donald Trump. It's like,
Yes.
Feels
pretty
very
sure
North Korean.
in the Old Testament, there's a whole thing about,
idols.
Idols.
There's
Like,
literally
what
a
are
story
we
in the Bible of a
doing?
bull statue that was worshipped like a god. And the
And it
disciples...
was gold.
And it was golden. And the disciples were told, like, no, you are going to show them through this. And so there was, like, all these trials, and the bull statue eventually falls. And people are like, no idols against God shall stand. And you're watching them do it, and do it proudly.
Greg Abbott, he's backing a bill that will ban non-human behavior in classrooms. Specifically like children meowing in class or pretending to be an animal at recess or wearing cat ears because of this bizarre thing where conservatives believe that there's litter boxes in classrooms, which there aren't.
That was complete fake story that was made up. But
It's like the
everyone
transgender mice.
Yeah, they were like they're putting the whole thing. Which, my God.
Kids are transitioning into animals, and now there's litter boxes in classrooms for kids to use. I'm like, do you know how little money schools have? They're not doing that.
Yeah.
They're not, like, what are you?
If they have
they're
extra
just, like,
funds, they're
use your
buying coloring.
brain. That's not happening.
No, but using their brain doesn't fit into the propaganda. So how could they do that?
I just imagine, like, in preschool or kindergarten, the story of, like, okay, like, the cow goes, the horse goes, and, like, no one can say a thing.
Not allowed to.
Not allowed to. You're just, like, say it in your head. Say it in your head.
You do it, and they're like, we got you.
Yeah. We know you were doing it.
Exactly. But I just feel like kids play pretend.
Yeah.
And like, okay, a kid wants to wear cat ears. That doesn't mean that they like.
So like what, Halloween?
Adorable.
Like, what do you mean? Playing like an animal is like a very normal thing.
Yeah, I believed I was the leader of a wolf pack until about 5th grade, honestly.
Yeah, and she turned out great.
Yeah. It's debatable.
The things that people are spending energy on is like, what do you mean you're going to ban non-human behavior in schools? You are banning imagination.
But you're not
That's
gonna
what you're
ban,
banning.
like assault rifles.
You're not going to ban guns, which are
we need more guns in
quite
schools.
literally killing children.
No, we need bulletproof backpacks in schools. That's what our
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. If, say there was a school shooter and they were pretending to be an animal inside the school,
Ooh.
Greg Abbott would have like rushed in there, wheels going by himself.
Yeah, if it was liberals shooting up schools, there would be laws made faster than you could ever fucking say it. But because they're racist, because they're usually white men.
Well, I think that all of these people really believe that liberals don't own guns. And like,
You'd be surprised how many liberals do
they
own guns.
do.
Or
like, guess what? A lot of gay and trans people probably own guns. So I don't know what you're doing, pissing them off.
the fact that we've gotten to that point where people are like, yeah, I bought a gun, took lessons, and are responsible gun owners, by the way, but use that as a way of like, I don't feel safe because this environment and this culture that you've created where you've accepted that is the way in which we deal with problems, that we can't accept people for who they are or they're wrong or they're whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, there's a large amount of people within the gay community, the trans community who are like, I need a handgun. It's for safety, but I don't feel like just walking around is good enough, like, or pepper spray or whatever it is. Like, I feel like I need something to protect myself.
I saw a video of a town hall conference, and I wish I had paid more attention. I was just giggling, but this guy's like, so how do you want to respond to the allegations that you are on Grindr?
That being said, how will you respond to the allegations that you've been using the LGBT dating app Grindr in secret? I mean, This is my wife.
I just saw that video when I was on
This morning,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And he's like, well, I have a wife. And it's like, well,
That doesn't mean shit.
I don't know how to tell you this, brother.
yeah.
Your favorite color is lavender.
Like what? When you sign up for Grindr, it's like, and do you have a wife? Like what? Having a wife, that stops you from being on
Yeah.
Grindr.
You're like, why did you fill out the account info like in detail? Why did you have a really
Why are
good
you
photo?
Yeah.
You're like, that's not me. Oh, so this exclusive photo of you shirtless that hasn't been seen in any public settings, this isn't you?
Yeah.
It's AI. I'm not a violent person. I really, really am not a violent person. But these days, I truly just think about, like, executing so many people because I'm like, do you know how much simpler it would be if we didn't have to argue with fucking idiots to prove that people have the right to exist? Do you know how
Right.
easy that would be?
Yeah.
just
Like, what if instead of killing the people who just want to mind their own business, we killed all the people who want to control everyone else? Or we send them to a place that would really receive that well. North Korea, Russia, anywhere else.
I do have thoughts of like, oh, what if we took all the people who are like, oh, we could run this country a certain way? Like, great. You want to run it that way? You go off to this island. You try to create this society, civilization there, and let's see how quickly it burns down.
I just want to split the country like directly in half and be like, pick a side, and you move to the side that you want to live on, and you have fun over there.
Yeah.
And stay away.
Sounds familiar. And
And I believe we called that the Civil
Civil
War.
War.
Ah, shit.
but it's very clear. Like, you've been saying it. Like, this country's too big. We.
Yeah. But at
too
least
bad.
down the middle, you get both like the northern and southern part. You're not just split across the bottom and top. So you're like, I get both kind of climates, seasons, and things like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I'm either on the north and it's colder, or I'm on the south and it's warmer, like whatever it might be.
Let's see. What did somebody have to say that was mean to us?
Yeah. Well, okay. So speaking of just the country, so we had a skit about a steaming pile of shit Sunday, which is essentially a metaphor for choosing between a shit Sunday, Donald Trump, or vanilla ice cream, Joe Biden. And Ben Cupp says, the first option was openly supporting genocide and was a blatant corporate fascist. But it's nice you DNC cultists show clearly how you elected Trump if you could only learn from your mistakes. But at last, it's clear that ain't going to happen.
They're talking about supporting Israel. That's what the argument is. They're saying you supported genocide by giving money to Israel, and the Israel versus Gaza war that was happening.
It's Biden.
That's
you
what-
mean that's interesting because when I saw Israeli flags being flown, it was always synonymous with Trump flags. That's literally what I would see. So that's really interesting to me.
Well, and like the U.S. does have a history of supporting Israel,
They
like,
also
and
have
so
all our oil, like it.
And you know that is just what has happened historically, and like obviously everything that's happening there is horrific, and maybe the U.S. could have done more, but like it was one of those things where I feel like a lot of people voted in a way where it was like things are gonna get so much worse now, like. I know. I don't think any of us were like, "Woo, Biden!" Oh my God!
No.
But like, come on. We have to like
34 convicted felonies.
Come on.
I mean, but not only that, but like you look at like Jared Kushner, and there's the talk of like, oh yeah, he wants to like want to bulldoze all of Gaza and make it a beachfront property. And then Donald Trump meets with Bibi Netanyahu and they're having a conference and they're talking about, oh, what are we going to plan to do? What we're thinking is the U.S. would just take it over, which is like insane. He's also said the same thing about he wants to take over Greenland. And then later it was like, hey, Denmark, can you give us eggs? And he wants to take over Panama, and he wants to take over Canada, and it's just like this incessant thought that we have to constantly own stuff and take it over, and
It's
so
not,
crazy.
we're not
Right.
the Roman Empire. Like I
No.
just am like, this isn't a thing that we do
And
anymore.
they stabbed Caesar anyway. So, like, I just don't mind our own business. Like, we just need to mind our own
right, and it's
business.
just like we have allies.
If they say
don't
America
piss off those
first, like,
allies.
mean it. Like,
Right.
focus here.
Yeah.
It's,
A lot of people are like, oh, America first. Like, all right, great, let's talk about, child poverty or like malnutrition or mental health. Like, let's focus on those things. And they're like,
Talk about the farmers who
we
are
can't-
losing funding to their
Right.
farms, and now they can't feed
all
their
of these,
communities.
all of these people, whether it be the, leftists or, there was like the Muslims for Trump or like the people who were like, undecided or whatever in Michigan. Like, I honestly look at those people and I say, are you happy with your choice? Because the very thing that you complained about against Biden or Harris is now the exact thing we warned you about would happen. At least someone was coming to the table to be like, hey, let's have a conversation and figure out how we can deal with this. Trump is like, yeah, we're going to give it all to Bibi and we're going to now plow it all down. You're not going to have anything. And it's like, Muslim community, I honestly, I wonder where your head is at now, because I look at that and say, just
Surely
outright,
that's not what you expected.
yeah, like outright destroy. He said he wasn't going to do that. He made sure to use these, Muslim or whoever as like token people at his rallies. What do you think he was going to do? He lies all the time. He lies as a career. That's what he does. So like when we tell you he's going to do this thing and you say no, and then he does a thing and then you
He
say,
would never do that to me.
and then you're like, oh my God, how could he do this thing? It's like,
he had an LED sign
We
above
told
his
you for-
head that
for
said,
9 months.
I'm going to do this, you dumb f***s. So
yeah, he had a big banner that said, I will fix it. Trump will fix it. And
No.
the prices are still high. Ukraine, Russia, still going on. Israel, Gaza, still going on.
yeah, wasn't there a ceasefire and then Israel was just firing on Palestinians like this morning? Like I think 300 new.
Right. And then there was also what happened. There was supposed to be a ceasefire with Ukraine and Russia, and then Russia was like, oops,
Nope, just
we
kidding.
bombed. And it's like, day one was the promise. He said, day one, I'll bring prices down. Day one, I'll fix it. Even before, he's like, day after the election,
No,
I'll solve
and
this
now
problem.
more Americans are unemployed than they were before he was in office.
Mm-hmm.
Prices are higher than they've fucking been. Businesses are suffering more than they have. Americans are miserable. I don't understand where the confusion is.
It's the biggest, and I don't know why this is so hard for Republicans to understand, or MAGA, but it is the biggest self-inflicted wound. Like, I have never seen a president, just on the economy alone, never seen a president on the brink of a recession that he caused within the first 30 days of entering. And we'll hit it again. April 2nd will come around, and whether this tariff thing stays or doesn't go, caves again, whatever, we're going to enter this, like, ebb and flow period. The market's going to dip back down, and, like, all of the gains that we made since the election have been wiped out.
Yeah.
Tesla was down 51% in gains since the election or whatever. Like, these are all things that Trump did.
And I truly don't think we'll survive 4 years. I think we are.
Yeah. And that's why, people in France want to take back the Statue of Liberty.
And they should. Petty queen, slay. So we're going to move on to a comment or a review we got from Jen Kirshner on one of our unisex hoodies. And the title of this is Great Hoodie. Thank you. I kept seeing this hoodie on my socials and just loved it, but was worried to pay the amount without knowing what the quality would be. I wish I'd bought it sooner. I love it. I feel like it runs pretty true to size. I wear a large normally and it fits a little baggy, which I expect from unisex sizing. It's washed well and the material feels like great quality. I'm getting ready to buy some more hoodies. So thank you for the positive review. And as always, you guys can order any shirt, any sweatshirt you want. And if it doesn't come in a size you want, we will get the size, right? And it is printed very much here. It is here. We also have a very responsive email team, which I've been reading in all the reviews, is that if you email, you will get a response very quickly. So let that be known.
Shout out to our customer support team.
Hell yeah. And now we're going to wrap it up with some Delve Deck. I feel like start with venting, original, end with joy.
Yeah, we always
Okay.
got to end on some joy.
Have to end on joy because truly,
There's nothing to be happy
the
about.
moods I get in when we talk about the state of the world, I'm like, I want to burn it all to the ground. Where's the Ouija man, Joni? We needed him. He was our avatar and we let him down. That's all I have to say. Okay, so this question is from the venting deck. This is, I think, the deepest section in the venting deck. And this question is, what's been your least favorite age and why?
When I was 25, 26, that was a rough year for me because I felt like I kind of went through a quarter life crisis at that point. The apartment next to my apartment was set on fire, or caught on fire, I guess. And I lost my apartment for like 7 months. Then shortly thereafter, the things that I could salvage from the apartment, I put into a storage unit. Then I was leaving for a trip to New York, went to the storage unit, only to discover that those things had been stolen. And then at that point, I was like, why am I even in San Francisco anymore? What am I doing? And then I moved back home for a few months, did some improv at I.O., and like really kind of recalibrated. It's like, what am I doing? What do I want to do? Like, that was a tough one because that was like months and months of dealing with like, where am I going to live? What am I going to do?
All your belongings.
All my stuff is gone. Dealing with insurance. It was like
any home base you would have had.
Yeah, it was gone.
Gone.
And that's why you should get renter's insurance.
Yes, renter's insurance.
Gotta have it.
I have renter's insurance.
Yeah.
Yes. But it only covers for the apartment. It doesn't cover for me if I have any personal losses. Anyway, my least favorite age was 18 to 19. I had just left Reno and moved to LA, and I was in my first relationship. So I found out I got cheated on. I think a week into living here alone, I had no money. I had no friends. I didn't know LA. I had no idea what I was doing, and I felt so alone. Like, if I reached out to anyone, it felt like they did not want to be talking to me. They did not care. I had no friends. I had nobody, and I was the most alone I had ever been in this huge city. And it was because of that I decided to go back to school, because I was like, I just need something. And I'm really glad that I did that. And I'm also glad that I had that experience because, like, you know, I'm alone now and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not miserable. I also know where to go to find community, which is great. But just like the culture shock of coming from Reno, Nevada, living with my big family, being in a happy relationship only to find out it was a lie. I have no friends. I have no money. I can't go anywhere. I can't even get myself like Starbucks as a treat. Like, I worked at a Starbucks, but it was just a really dark time and like a really sobering moment to be like, I'm doing this alone and I have $300 to my name. And that was it.
Yeah.
So it was tough. But I'm glad I did it. I'm not a pussy. So that's all I got to say.
22 to 23, probably the worst mental health crisis of my life. I was in grad school. I was far away from anybody who knew me or cared about me. So everybody that I knew at that time in my life just knew me as that version of me. And so nobody was like,
Tess, something's wrong.
you seem crazy. Everyone was like, I guess she's just nuts. So yeah, pretty dark. Pretty bad time.
Which I think is a
Elise.
great transition to this question. What feels like therapy to you, but isn't therapy?
That's
I've
nice.
recently discovered I'm quite good at painting. And
Oh.
anytime I go through something, I would sit and I would be like, what does my brain need to put on canvas? That feels good. Or songwriting. That's for me, though. That's not for profit. That's just for me.
I feel like that's what therapy should feel. That makes sense that would feel like therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I don't know, being in nature or like traveling, just like being out of my like immediate environment. But yeah, probably like going for a hike or being at the beach or yeah.
Those are great. I think the nature part is awesome. I sometimes I'm just like, man, I just need a chocolate milkshake. Like it is like exactly what I need. You know, it's like the perfect amount of.
You know, I get that.
It's just like
That's
there are
awesome,
some times, and
yeah.
it's not very often. It's like, you know, throughout the year there'll be moments I'm like, whatever state I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go down over to this diner or like whatever it is. I'm gonna go get a chocolate milkshake and just kind of like enjoy it, you know.
That's
and
very
it's like a nice treat, and I just kind of sit and I can people watch and I don't do anything. Just kind of like what I like to do.
Let's get chocolate milkshakes, guys.
I think after one of these days when we don't have something to do immediately after, we should bond over something other than our hatred for the political state of the world.
What is a quality in others that you admire?
Quality that I know a couple friends that I have possess is they're more focused or attentive to like your kind of state, you know, enough where they're like, hey, like I just want to like, could be a random text or call. I'm like, hey, just wanted to check in, see how you're doing. Unprompted, unsolicited, and it could be like, oh yeah, everything's good, or it could be like, oh man, I'm so glad you texted, you know. And even because I know like sometimes I can be really bad about like getting back to someone after a while, and it's been so long. And you know, recently I had a trip with friends from college, and I was able to like connect with everyone at once. I was like, this is amazing. But there are other moments where I'm like, that one-off thing with someone, they're like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? I'm like, just want to check in. How are you and the fam? Or whatever it is. And I'm like, that ability for someone to always like put out feelers to those that they're close with to just check in, send me back something. Just want to know you're okay. And I'm like, I love that in friends that I have or family.
I would say I am really jealous. This is kind of a different direction. I'm really jealous of people who don't feel as much.
Oh.
Because I feel everything. And like, especially when you're looking at the state of the world and how many people are suffering and how many children are scared and how many people are scared, like I will cry at the drop of a hat, just like thinking about other people's problems. And it makes it really, really hard to take care of myself because I'm really, really focused on other people. And like, I don't even know these people. I just like taking my personal problem, like donating to any GoFundMe I see. Like if I see someone begging for money on TikTok, which I have to stop because I think they're scams now. I've sent like a lot of money, or like any homeless person that I see, like I will stop, grab snacks, like food. And it just makes me feel horrible that I can't do more. Like I don't know how much this really helps you. I don't know this and that. And I really wish I could shut it off. Sometimes, especially living in LA, because you see so much. Mm-hmm. And I think I would do a much better job taking care of myself if I could just shut it off.
I think in that realm, I'm impressed by people who set healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I suck at that. And so people who are like good at being like, this is what I need. And are good at like prioritizing that sort of thing, I think is a quality that I admire.
And with that being said, that was all 3 of our Delve decks. So if you wanted to take the plunge today, you can get your own decks at boredwalk.com. We highly recommend these. They're fun. Mm-hmm. They are therapeutic. They're a great first date activity, bonding activity, anything like that. So we love you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with us. Okay, goodbye, you guys.
Bye.